No, I just started it back up. Let's see.
Oh, there we go.
You can see the card's good.
Oh, you can on there? Okay. Hello, everybody. We're back. We switched. We're using the phone as opposed to the GoPro. Although, let us know how the GoPro did.
Bridget, welcome back.
Hello.
Oopsie, did we do it? Oh. Rachel Santiago,
Hello. You are live with myself. Brian Redmond is behind me here, and Tiff is off to the side there. We were in the middle of Allied Us. We were in the middle of your reading. So we had discussed pretty much, and here we go again for those coming in. Here's the Kelpie, or warning. We were discussing the particular entity that had been with Allied for some odd years since she was younger. And the fact that this particular entity wasn't necessarily parasitic, it wanted a symbiotic relationship. It wanted to give certain things, we'll say, in return for taking what it is that it wanted. And the last card pretty much solidified that, which was service. And get a little bit closer there. There we go. So it basically is an entity that basically became so ingrained that the two of you really just couldn't tell each other apart. You didn't know where the entity began and you ended, and vice versa. But it was cool because the two of you had an understanding after you became old enough to understand that one could be gained. An understanding could be gained. But now, let's see, we need a clarifier. Let's see where we're at. Very interesting, especially for you. So we talked about the entity and what it is that the card saw that it was. And now we are looking at choice, or the Valkyrie. There we go. Choice. So there's a decision that needs to be made as to whether or not this needs to become something more. So it needs to become something that you just out and out decide to have a pact with, or it needs to be a decision to remove it. That one's completely up to you on that end. Yeah, that would figure. The next one is the Kraken, or mystery. So from this choice, we're going into the unknown. It's something that you've dealt with for a long time. Either having gotten rid of it, you're still dealing with the idea of it being there. Or once you do decide, if you so decide to get rid of it, what is that going to bring? How is that actually going to change your life?
Confusing, because I thought it had been removed already.
That's an interesting thing, because I thought it had as well. And I think that's something that we're working on as you bring it up. Because I believe, and this is just me bringing this up, This isn't me speculating or anything else. There's a strong suspicion that one of your altars was not an altar. And that's the reason why it was missed. Now, once again, that doesn't necessarily mean that this particular entity or situation intended to harm. On the contrary, there were probably a lot of incidents where it decided to protect. However, this one didn't really feel like it was ever a part of you. And that's where that one kind of is an interesting kind of intuitive nudge that came to me. But after making this particular decision, and this is, as the card suggested, this is based off of your choice, whether or not you decide to do the thing, and whether or not you were okay with the decision that you make. The end result is the mermaid, or beauty.
It was no one, a.k.a. Katrina.
Gotcha. I can understand. And like I said, here's beauty. This is the tranquility, the simplicity in choice itself, and understanding that life is worth living, and understanding that life in and of itself is a journey and should be treated as such. You make the second reading, you and Alex, you make the second reading that had me take a deep dive. We had to hit some pretty strong introspect with the two of you.
Allied says, LMAO, we used to have a mermaid altar.
That's amazing. Mermaids are cool. They're pretty chill. Until they're not.
Lots of hearts.
Hopefully that was able to, I was able to give you a little bit of insight there. By the sounds of things, it hit a particular chord. So now it comes down to making a decision and making sure that you're okay with that decision. And then living your life, not looking back and questioning why or what if, but actually allowing yourself to either A, be free of that particular situation, or B, just embrace it.
Yes, and thank you.
You're very welcome. And thank you, Mr. Redmond, for fielding the comments. I definitely appreciate it. Any more questions? Anybody want a reading? If you would like a reading, well, you guys didn't want to shuffle. You're gonna, though. If you would like a reading, I need a question. It could be as general or as precise as you would like it to be, but I do have to have a question. I don't do...
Jenny Tubb, reading regarding the Barn Dimium?
The what?
The Barn Den I don't know. BARNDEMINIUM.
Dominium. Okay.
Oh, the Barn Dominium.
Yeah. Basic.
House.
Yeah.
Lots of comments. Allied says we're beginning trauma processes and giving it up to source. Been very beautiful. Jenny Tubb says okay. Bridget, a job advice in carpool.
Okay.
Jenny says the house.
Yeah, we got you. We figured it out. It took 3 of us, but we did it. All right. I think Jenny was first, and then Bridget.
Yes.
And very happy I could be of some assistance to you, Miss Allied. All right, Barn Dominium. Well, no shit. First card, and I'm already like, well, duh. Alright. So, current situation, right? Current situation as it is. We're going to do a 4-card pull. This one's usually associated with the elements and what it is that they particularly represent. The first card that's pulled is always associated with Earth or the situation that is currently being asked about. And we got the Kraken or Mystery. There we go. And that's the reason why I was like, well, no shit. Things are a little bit up in the air as things are. As far as this particular card and the intuitive nudge that's coming through, there's a questioning on your end, but on the other side of things, there is a holdup, there's a hang-up, there's a snag. There's a question that the other person needs answered, or there is a problem that they are in the middle of trying to resolve. So there's a little bit of uncertainty on both sides, not just for you. Let's see. Interesting on that. Okay. So the end result of that. So what things are presenting as? There's mystery. We're asking about the particular thing. There's mystery surrounding it. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of issues. The card that is currently being shown as wind, or the thing that is being represented. So this is what things are looking like, is Hades, or the underworld. Now, that's kind of the whole thing. We were talking about that earlier with Alex, and that the underworld and hell are two very different things. The underworld, at least as far as this card in this particular situation, is more of a holding state. We're being held in a state of not necessarily darkness, but in isolation. Which, that's the case, right? Pretty much left out in the cold, so to speak, when it comes to understanding the nature of the situation and the people involved in it. So, now we're getting into the nitty-gritty, or the fire. The next card is fire, and this is the thing that needs to be introduced in order to... wow. The thing that actually needs to be introduced in order to enact a particular change. So how do we change the situation? And the card is Alchemy, or Circe. There you go, there's the card. So in this particular situation, alchemy can mean a number of different things. But the particulars of alchemy, at least the basics of it, is to find out what the root cause or what the root element of something is, break it down to its finest components, and then repurpose those into something new. That is the basics of alchemy. So, what this is telling me is that in order to get anything going with this, it needs to be reevaluated. Things need to be looked at on both sides in a different light. Because either one side, the other, or both are missing key components. There are missing values that are trying to be worked out. When most likely, the two of you have the answers that each other are looking for. It just really needs to find a more diplomatic approach. And looking at the water or the end result. Okay. We're looking at aisle C, or disconnection. Now, you hear that word, and everybody typically goes towards the negative end of, well, I'm not going to get what I want, or this person's going to tell me to fuck off, or whatever. Disconnection in this particular sense isn't anything that's really bad. What I'm getting from this is that there's going to be a release. So, the current issue is that both sides are feeling isolated from the other one. They're not getting the answers that they really need in order to push this project forward. What's necessary is actual conversation. More than just the, well, are you going to or are you not? Well, here's this blasé, blow-off kind of answer. There actually needs to be some common ground. There needs to be a disconnection from yourselves. There has to be a willingness to understand where the other person is actually at. One side feels as though they are being compartmentalized in the other one's life. And truthfully, that's felt on both sides. So there needs to be that particular disconnection. In other words, there needs to be an uncorking of head from ass. And going through reevaluating and showing proper communication skills, it's going to allow for both sides to actually voice the proper things and to move things forward knowing where the other one actually is. And what I mean by that is everything's going to be on the table. There's not going to be this whole thing where it feels like secrets are being kept, or things are being swept under the rug, or that kind of thing. Everybody's being held at arm's length. It's going to show a little bit of growth, but it's also going to need a little bit of effort in order to make that work. Let me shuffle these a couple of times, and we will do the thing for Miss Bridget.
Job advice.
Job advice for Bridget. Okay. And hopefully that helped you out a little bit, Jenny. Hello for everybody that popped on. We're doing readings. What I'm referring to as the Deep Down, Dark Deep Down deck. It is the Deep, Dark, and Dangerous Oracle. We're showcasing those tonight, so I'm doing readings for you guys with those. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask questions.
Raymond said, what are the chances of Steve dressing up as the Hamburglar next Halloween?
Very likely. I don't need cards for that.
He said, thank you.
You're very welcome. In all honesty, Raymond, you get me the costume, I'll fucking wear it. I'll wear it in the middle of summertime. I don't give a shit. You've met me, you understand. Roll up into Scarefest next year rocking a Hamburglar costume. I'm down.
I mean, Ethan came in dinosaur costume that one year.
Ethan did come in rocking that dinosaur costume. That thing was murder. It was so hot. Because I put that thing on.
Allied says, sorry, I know I already asked my question, but has the entity turned towards my husband?
That one I can't answer with cards. At least not directly. I need it worded differently. And Bridget needed job advice.
Yes.
Okie doke.
Raymond says, you're on.
I'm down, dude. I'm serious. Bet. I don't give a shit. I'll wear a hamburger costume. I'll wear it to somebody's wedding.
While you're officiating?
I'm blind. I didn't know what I was putting on. All right. Job situation. All right. So, interesting that it was him, too. That's neat. Your first card, and this is the situation as it is. We're going to do another 4-card draw. But the first card is rest. That word that you and I both have a tendency to forget is in our vocabulary. But the god Hypnos and rest. That's the current situation. That idea that there needs to be a little bit more balance. There needs to be... You love your job, you love what you do, you don't love the fact that that's all you do. Okay. The next card is the Banshee, or Grief. This is what it actually is appearing as. This is what the situation seems like. So it's almost the feelings of... And there's dualities to all these cards, and I'll be getting into that in just a moment. The duality for Hypnos is the lack of insomnia, stress, going forward constantly without any sign of real rest. And that's the reason why I put the emphasis on that's what you actually are looking for, is some kind of relief. There's a difference between thriving in chaos and coping with chaos. And I think that, and this is just intuitive nudges, but I think we're getting to the point where we're starting to understand that, yeah? And that's what we're getting into with the grief card. Now, the duality of grief is joy, that particular happiness. And in this particular sense, we're finding, and I say we because I'm getting that particular connection, we're finding that there is a lot of peace in the ability to actually rest. When the laptop is off, when the computer is down, when, you're not on a conference call or on, a quick fix-it kind of situation, and you're able to spend that particular time with your husband and your daughter, there is a joy found almost like you forgot that it existed before. Even though you know exactly the feeling, it's like you're rediscovering what it is to be happy. And just like going through the grief cycle, there are days where it's very fragile. It's very difficult to be able to let go of the stresses and the tension. And when you do, there's just a full release of, oh my God, this is life. This is what life can be, you know. But then, just like with grief, the stressors and the strain and the constant what if. Well, what if this is needed? And what if that's needed? And what if, you know, this person calls? Those things start to creep back in, and then all of a sudden you're back in the middle of it. Restless. What needs to be introduced in order to enact a change? That's neat, actually. The card is the dragon. Go figure that. Or treasure. What is most important to you? What is most important to you? These things need to actually be more of a mainstay in your mind than the job itself. The job is a means to an end. It is not your one and only. Figure out for yourself what your treasures actually are and hold them closer than what you do. And and through that, and this is your final card for this 4-card pool. Through that, you're actually going to find, and you're going to get a kick out of this one. This is how I know this is your fucking reading, Bridget. The card is the journey, but the patron of the card is Persephone. The card is the journey with the patron of Persephone. In other words, when you start to actually focus on life more than the day-to-day of the job, you're going to find that it still exists just as you thought it should. You know, it took me for 5 ever to be able to go, look, it's my day off, I'm not doing.
She said, stop it. Wow.
You know, it took me for 5 ever to get to the point where I was able to go, look, it's my day off. I'm sorry. If it can wait until tomorrow, it's going to be tomorrow, but it's not going to be today. And as difficult as it is for me to say that at times, it's also necessary for me to understand that I have to have that time. I have to take that time. If I don't, then I lose myself in the job, in the work, in the next person, in the next client, in the next phone call. You know, it's always something else that keeps me from the things that I find important, the people that I find important. And it's one of those situations where I think you need to start to be able to do the same. Did we have anybody else that needed a reading?
Nope.
Alrighty. Hopefully that helped you out, Bridget. Hopefully I didn't call you on the carpet too bad. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask. Single questions. Again, I am reading from the Deep, Dark, and Dangerous Tarot. Oracle, excuse me. We've got a couple of these with us, I believe.
We're down to 3. I'm one of them, probably.
Okay.
4. Allied says, has the entity ventured outside us for fuel? And Bridget says, thank you. Nate said you rolled me up in the carpet.
As far as the entity goes, like the reading stated, it's going to depend on you as to whether or not it sticks around. Your decision is going to dictate how things go. Now, also like I mentioned, it's not necessarily quote-unquote evil. It's just not healthy. It's not a good thing at the moment. And I'm glad I could be a good source of entertainment for Nate.
Allied says reverb session.
Yes, actually. Very much so. Very good, by the way. Alright, I think we'll do one or two more of these, and then we're going to bounce. Hang out a little bit, actually try and get some sleep. If you guys have any questions, I'll do a couple more readings before we bounce out.
Bridget says he is cracking up. Says that was the most spot-on reading he's ever heard.
Well, I can't take all the credit. These cards are they're pretty spot on, and I can intuitively connect through these, and more so than I can most decks. It's actually been pretty cool playing around with them.
Now it says SMX rocks.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it very, very much. And so do you. Without you guys, we wouldn't be where we are, and we wouldn't be able to do what it is that we do. So you guys rock just as much as we ever do and ever could. Anybody else? I'll take two more readings. So two more questions. While we're waiting on questions, I'll set those there now that I've shuffled them enough. While we're waiting on questions, we are in Louisville this weekend for Horrorpalooza at Waverly Hills Sanatorium. You can go to horrorpalooza.com excuse me, to look up the details, who all's going to be there. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m., we will be doing a special talk on echoes and entities. So we'll be covering what people consider residual hauntings, poltergeist activity, as well as a slew of other types of entities. And of course, there's going to be a multitude of other presenters and readers, vendors. It's going to be a fun weekend. So if you guys are interested, come out and check it out.
Two other questions here. Raymond says, what can you tell me about the gentleman attached to me?
Okay. That ought to be interesting. Okay, what's the other one?
Shanna says, am I on the right track with my health issues?
Okay, those will be our last two. So Raymond first, and then Miss Shanna. Is it Shanna or is it Shayna?
Shayna Nowlin?
Yes. Well, it's pronunciation for me, where I do that Kentucky thing of cutting words in half and splicing them with others, and then incorrect vowel sounds and the ones that are spelled correctly. It's making sure that I don't butcher someone's name. All right. Mr. Raymond, the entity attached to you. Now, once again, before I do this reading, this is intuitively what the cards say, okay? So if you are familiar with this particular person that you have attached with you, I mean no offense. It is just what I'm picking up from the cards. Alrighty. Well, that would make sense for you. Fuck's sake, that would make sense for you. So the first card is Mischief. And it is represented by a puka. So here's the card. Pukas are really interesting critters. They are definitely mischievous, sprite-like creatures. They have their own mindset. They have their own will. They do their own thing. However, they are all kind of governed by a particular law. There's one thing that actually creates them. A particular mindset, not necessarily a thought form, but a mindset, an elemental upheaval for certain significant reasons, certain kinds of conjurings, but these things are very about their business, and they go about their business very methodically. But Mischief is one of the telling signs of a puka anyway. They're very... Some can be very blunt, and others can be very abstract. They can be very lighthearted, and some of them can be very stern. But there's always that little hint of whimsy, that strange little thing that tells you that they're kind of off the rocker. Okay. Now, the next card is the Kelpie, or Warning. Now, this can mean a couple of different things, especially coming up after a puka. I don't believe, at least in this particular situation, I don't believe that you are, from the card's perspective, they're not trying to warn you against what it is that you have with you. What they are stating, though, is that this apparition is with you as a warning. Which most likely means that you're being looked at by something bigger than it is. Which means you may have more than one that are actually with you, Mr. Raymond. That's the impression I'm getting. We'll call it a hunch, and I don't get hunches. That you've got more than one. This particular puka is trying its best to, in mischievous ways, in very childlike ways, it's trying to draw your attention to certain things. It's trying to get you to notice something that you haven't really paid attention to, or something that you're just unaware of. You know, it just didn't pop through. But it's trying its best to make sure that you understand the full scope of your own situation. Yeah. So, the next card, and I'm doing yours a little bit differently, Raymond, since you asked it in the way that you did. So I'm pulling cards until I feel a disconnection. So the next one, which would make sense for the way that I was catching it, is the Mystery, or the Kraken. So this tells me that there's another player. Pukas are usually solitary. They keep to themselves, especially around their own ilk. This one is sticking to you like glue, which means that there is something else, definitely, that is kind of waiting in the wings, almost like a mountain cat, or some kind of predatory animal waiting in the brush for an animal smaller than it to not be paying attention. It's kind of what it feels like. There's a lot of what is it, what's out there, that's kind of going on. The next card is Hecate, and it is Illumination. So that is what this creature, this Puka, is trying to give to you. The next card after that is Mithras, or Loyalty. So the creature that you have with you, this Puka, is most definitely there for a good reason. It was either sent by somebody that you know, because typically they have to have either a creator or a master or some kind of facilitator. But this Puka was either sent by somebody that you know, or it's one that you've carried with you, that you yourself have either made or were acquainted with in some other part of your life or past life. But it is there solely to give you this warning. It is 100% trying to get you to see what you currently can't. And we'll do one last card. And, the last card is Persephone again, or the Journey. And this is going to be the final card for your draw, because to me that spells the very end of this reading. So, in order for you to progress, this Puka is trying to show you that you have something with you that is holding you back. The Puka itself is trying its best to be loyal to either A, its master, or B, its particular, well, we can say orders or programming, or its particular drive, its thing. But it's doing its best to try and make sure that you protect yourself. So there's more than one with you. One of them's good to go and is most likely not even close to human, because Pukas are not. They usually present as animals or odd fae-like creatures, because technically they are of a fae nature. Very rarely will they actually show as a humanoid. But it's definitely doing its best.
Shanna says it's Shanna like banana.
Gotcha. Shanana.
And Bridget says, but your talk tomorrow, need a ticket. I think I'll need to head over for that.
Our talk is free. It comes with admission, so to my knowledge, everybody's stuff is free. If it isn't, then it will it'll be on their particular blurb on the web page. But ours is free to the public, so once you pay to come in and hang out and view the show, do the thing, you can come and see us for absolutely free. All right, and we had that was Raymond's, and we had one other
Am I on the right
Shauna's,
track with my health issues?
and that was Shauna. Shana.
And Raymond says, we'll talk more about that later.
Gotcha, man. It, like I said, it came through pretty strong on that one. But yeah, just get with me. We'll talk about it.
He says, cool, we'll plan to be there tomorrow night.
Alrighty. Alright. Miss Shana. Shanna. Gotta say it correctly. Shanna. Shanna. You know, now it's going to be going through my head. Shanna Banana. Banana Shanna. And now it's just fun to say. Alright. On the right track with health. On the right track with health. Okay. Okay. One more. These things are mouthy. Not like usual cards. You can shuffle them 2 or 3 times. Like, okay, read me. These are more like, nah, I'm not done yet. Keep going. Which is always the sign of a good deck, by the way.
Shanna's laughing. She says, yep, that's what I've always been called. Shanna Banana.
I am so sorry. You did that to me, and I'm doing it back. Alright, let's see here. On the right track with health issues. Okay. I see. So the first card, excuse me, the first card that I drew was the Lemure, or Loneliness. There you go, a little bit closer. In this particular sense, and the way that I'm drawing them, I'm doing a typical 4 pull. So this is the situation as it is. This is the way it's currently being accepted as, we'll say. This is the problem at heart. And that is, there's a real feeling of isolation in that well, for obvious reasons, there are a lot of uncertainties. At times, it feels as though you're the only one that understands the way that your body works. Even though you've been to multiple doctors, you've asked about multiple diagnoses, and even if you've gotten the correct answer as far as what's going on, it still feels like what it is that you're trying to say gets lost in translation. Even if it is with your very same doctor or your friends and family. There's this really sad hint of miscommunication that kind of lends towards a reclusiveness or a feeling of being set aside, even if you aren't. The thing that is currently happening, though, at least as we speak, according to what it is that is currently going on, what's currently happening now, first card is the situation. This card is more of what's really going on. You know, this is the veil being pulled back. And that is the Hydra, or Regeneration. That's a cool card. I like it. The Hydra, or Regeneration. So, literally, even though it seems as though things aren't necessarily the way that you would like them to be, there is a certain level of rejuvenation, regeneration, a rebirth of sorts. There are changes that are happening. Some that don't feel great, some that don't seem great, but they are actually for your betterment. Let's see. What needs to be brought about? We have the dragon, or treasure. There's the card there. A little bit closer. Again, just like with Bridget. Only in this particular situation, we're focusing more on your personal health. What is it that you need in order to feel healthy and safe? What is it that you are looking for? In all honesty, and I know this may be a little bit, at least it seems out in left field, but what is it that you hope for? Where's your hope? Where does it lie? That one's strong right now. That specific word, hope, is really, really strong. But what is it that you're hoping for? What are your dreams? What are the things that you would like to accomplish once you are healthy? Once you do have a particular path to go down to make sure that this illness or situation gets resolved. The dragon is prideful of its hoard. It guards its treasures. It holds them dear above all else. This is the thing that actually needs to be introduced in order to enact a better change. That's cool. I love these fucking cards. Like, for real, y'all. I love these cards. These are up there with my crystal mandalas as far as being an amazing deck to work with. But your last card is Scylla. Or Resilience. The ability to endure. That is the end result of this. You're going to make it through. You're going to get healthy. It will get better. It's going to be just as difficult as it is on the next person. Life has its particular challenges. Being challenged in life is a given. Being defeated by it is a choice. Finding your hope, finding that drive, finding the things that make life worth living and holding on to them will lead you to that resilience, that endurance, that ability to persevere. Okay. And I kind of brought in a clarifier. Normally I just do a 4-card as 4 cards, and a 5th one needed to be pulled. It just kind of called. And we have Mithras, or loyalty, that came out. Staying true to yourself and holding fast to this. Understanding that the right people will hear you. The other ones may wind up falling to the wayside, but the right people will hear you. Stay close to those people. Hold them dear. Let the ones that are going to be there be there. You know, there's a difference between encouraging and enabling. There's a difference between babying and nursing. I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about, too. Because there's a couple people that spring to mind. And I don't know names, but there's a couple people that spring to mind that are a little bit much. The word overbearing comes to mind, but that may be a little strong. But they have their own ideas, their own interpretations of what it is that's going on with you, and they're not really paying attention to you. They're not really helping you. They're assuming and making the situation worse, or honestly just disregarding it. Now, this could be me going out on a limb. I don't know. But invisible disabilities are still disabilities. Invisible illness is still illness. And I'm not talking about up here. Things like chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, MS. You know, these people can have good days and then just decline in health for weeks. There is something to be said about that. Fuck the people that don't understand. Okay? Alrighty. We got any more questions, Mr. Redmond?
No, just a comment. Allied said deck has its own user advisory reflected in the shuffle.
It does.
And Shanna says, you hit the nail on the head describing me. Difficult to communicate my issues to others, making me pull away most and become reclusive. Absolutely. I have a hard time accepting help, and oh my God, I know exactly who you are referring to.
Well, hopefully I was able to give you a little bit of insight and a little bit of support, as well as some confirmation. Because that's the goal. You know, all of us here, you know, me, Redmond, Tiff, the guys, the gals, you know, we may not necessarily understand what it is that's going on, but it doesn't mean that we won't try. And sometimes it takes a deck of cards, whereas other times all it does is take a conversation. If you need people, you got people. And parental advisory aside, you know, we do take what it is that we do very seriously. We take each and every person's health and, mental state very seriously as well. And we're not going to let you do without if we can help it, even if all we can offer is an ear and a shoulder.
Genesis, thank you. Definitely appreciate it, and you answered my thoughts.
Very good. Very good. Who knows? These may be making an appearance on the table here at the event this weekend. I may add it to our list of various sundries of things that we do. Because I've really enjoyed tonight hanging out with y'all and Mr. Redmond. And I've definitely enjoyed these cards. They're spectacular. The artwork's beautiful. The connection's great. So if you're interested in those, I know we got a few of these. So come check them out. We're gonna be at Horrorpalooza all this weekend. Y'all come see us. Come see a bunch of other people. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. It starts, for VIPs, it starts tomorrow at 4, I believe, and goes until 8. And then Saturday, if I remember correctly, is 10 to 6. And then Sunday is 12 to 5. And there are after events and different parties and different tours and different cool shit that they're doing afterwards. So pick your days, come up, come stay, come hang out. We're going to be here all 3 days, and you know us. We're more than happy to hang out with you, to answer any questions. High fives, handshakes, free hugs. Of course they are. We're not kidding. And alrighty, I think we're going to end it. But we're going to be seeing you guys. If not, until the next time. And until then, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. And remember that those that have the power to change themselves have the power to change the world around themselves. Night, y'all.